to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Malin Mitchell, a Dem gubernatorial candidate, has joined us down here in our Brady Street studios, not for the first time. He's a friend of ours. He's running for governor. I would say you're a relatively young guy. You're
40 years old.
Relatively good-looking guy. Relatively.
Thank you. I'm married, but thank you.
You're a fireman. That's a pretty good resume piece. And, of course, you've run for statewide elective office once prior. What do you think the Republicans think about your candidacy? And I hate to make race an issue, but you're a black man as well.
I've been black for 40 years now, and I'm okay with that. Matter of fact, I enjoy it. So you asked me two questions. I'm going to answer the first one. What do Republicans think about my race? I guess I've seen some digital ads against me, being called a union boss or being called a Madison liberal, and I don't run from any of those things. I am a union president. I'm in charge of a union association, the Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin, and they'll say I stick up for the special interest unions. Well, if special interest unions are the firefighters that run into burning buildings, or the people that respond to emergencies, then I'll stick up for them all day. All they do, man, they conquer and divide, or divide and conquer. The governor said he was going to do that, and that's exactly what's happening. So I don't pay much attention to what the other side says. I have to get out there and convey my message to the people of the state, and it's going well.
What has happened to the state?
Well, the governor said to one of his high-priced donors about 6 years ago that he was going to divide and conquer our state. He was going to first attack the public sector employees, and then they would, you would divide them from the public sector, and which happened to some extent, let's be honest. And then right to work would come, which came. Getting rid of prevailing wage, which came. Getting rid of project labor agreements, which happened. So he's divided our state. And the governor likes to go around and tout his 3.2% unemployment rate. Well, it doesn't matter when someone's working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet, or when someone doesn't have a good quality of life. And that's what we're seeing in our state.
We've been following you around all day, and we were at a round table just now, and I heard you say something about, you were talking about infrastructure in Wisconsin, and you mentioned that the roads are some of the worst in the country.
49th worst.
49th worst.
In the country.
In the country. And you have 4 seasons here, and for those who may not be familiar with what happens to roads when you have 4 seasons and it freezes, they get wrecked. Mm-hmm. And the infrastructure in this country is not doing great. There's been a lot of promises. But what I found so interesting was that you connected it to the mass incarceration rate in this state.
There is a link, and there is a strong connection between our state budget, African American male incarceration rates, the transportation budget, state school aid, shared revenue, because it's all, at the end of the day, for the most part, coming from the same pot. We are the highest African American male incarcerated people in the country. So we're 49th when it comes to roads, but we're number 1 when it comes to putting black people in jail. I'll just say it like that.
Wow, really?
And that's horrible.
Not good.
Did you guys know that?
No, I know.
A lot of elected officials or people coming here to run won't talk about that because you got to sweep that under the rug. Well, I'm going to bring it out. And that's a shame because it all is interconnected. The Department of Corrections, for instance, in the state budget, has a $1 billion per year, $1 billion per year that they get from in the state budget. That's what their budget is. That's more than we spend in tax dollars for the UW system. So we're spending more to lock people up than we are to actually educate people. So the state of Wisconsin, we have available about 16,000 people that can be incarcerated safely without overcrowding jail. 16,000. Right now we're at 23,000 folks in jail. Talk about Lincoln Hills. That's a huge problem. The governor's going to spend $80 million, money that could be going where? To transportation, infrastructure. This, believe it or not, is an economic development issue. Yeah. So if we can get people and link them with jobs like you guys have, that's it, man. To me, that's a huge deal. It's not going to solve every problem. We never will, but that is a huge deal.
It's a start.
And we can do that. But I can only do it with you guys' help. And you guys leading the way. I mean, I'll be there every step of the way, and I'll fight like hell to make sure it's done. But it is a problem when we spend more money in Department of Corrections than we do at the UW system because of the cuts. And that's money that could be going to K through 12 education, adequately funding schools, giving health care to everybody. I mean, that doesn't seem like it should be that hard. G's Barbershop.
So what does this represent?
This is a cornerstone of the neighborhood. This is where everyone comes to gather to meet, have fun, meet and greet. It's the most fun you can have without alcohol.
Wow.
That's a great endorsement right there as soon as you walk in. Gee, here's the owner.
Damn.
So I brought the young Turks back. I want you to show them the shop.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, take a look at it.
How you doing? Barbershops has gotten away from how barbershops used to be back in the days. When I say back in the days, I'm talking about the 40s or 50s, where barbershops literally the heartbeat of the community. It used to be like a place where a lot of good news was spread. Barbershops used to represent so much. But now, we've gotten away from that. But G's Clippers, I would like to say that, we're testament. Melanie Mitchell was here, campaigning for governor. We've had so many politicians over the years campaigning. So just let me know I'm doing something right. They feel comfortable enough. They feel like they're going to reach so many people, through the shop, and where they can really be heard, if you will.
And this is what we're going to do. I mean, part of our campaign is retail campaigning, actually going out. I mean, old school, he's talking about old school barbershops. I'm talking about old school campaigning, actually going out and shaking hands, talking to people, listening to what's going on, and not just running a bunch of commercial ads telling them what I'm going to do. I know you came for the food, but you're going to have to hear me speak for a minute. I'm sorry.
Looking forward to it.
I'll be 5 minutes.
Put your hands together for my good friend and brother, Mayor Mitchell, who I believe will make a great governor of this state of Wisconsin.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And first of all, thank you all for coming. My name is Malin Mitchell. So if you don't know, I'm a firefighter by trade. I actually still work on the job. I worked just yesterday. I was a firefighter yesterday in the city of Madison. I've been on the job for 20 years, and I love it. And I never thought that I'd be leaving my job. I never thought that I'd be leaving my dream job in order to run for governor. I never thought I'd be leaving my dream job in order to run for, quite frankly, anything. Because I love my job and I love serving our community. But I want to talk about what is real. And what is real right now in our state is things are not going so well. And a struggle is a struggle. Whether you're struggling on 53rd and Burleigh, or you're struggling in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, or you're struggling in Kenosha, Racine, Janesville, Beloit, or La Crosse, you're struggling in this state. And a struggle is a struggle. We need to bring opportunities back to places that need them. So we have to make sure we work hard at that. I also talk about education, all education, and how we have to adequately fund education. And I'm asking you to believe in me. But more importantly, I'm asking you to believe in yourselves and believe that we can do this together. And together we rise. Now, I'm a Democrat, but I'll tell you they don't have all the answers either. We have to work together. So we need all hands working in our state to make sure we work for everybody and that we have a state that is representative of everybody, not just a select few.
But what can you do as governor, with a hostile Congress? What would you actually do as a progressive in office with a right-wing legislation? What can you do executively?
So, unfortunately, you're exactly right. Because of the gerrymandering or the redistricting, I'm gonna fight like hell to make sure we don't, but we're gonna definitely have a Republican assembly. And to think that they're going to change their vote on Act 10, right to work, some other things, would be foolish. And any candidate that comes and tells you that I'm going to go in there and I'm going to repeal this, I'm going to replace this, they're full of stuff, is the right word, I guess. BS. Yeah. They're full of shit is what they're full of. I mean, let's be honest. But you cannot mislead the voters, and I'm not going to do that. What I can tell you is this. I have a working relationship with people of all types, all backgrounds. As a firefighter, my union, we don't identify as being Democrats. I do, I'm a Democrat. But our union is we always say, we support those who support us, whether they have an R or a D behind their name. But what you're gonna have to do is any Democratic governor, and like you said, I hope I am the nominee and the actual governor, but whoever the governor is, Democrat, what you first have to do is stop bad things from happening.
Right.
It's like, so you're going to be, no pun intended, a firewall for more bad things from happening. Because there are more bad things that can happen. Every time in this state, and I'm guilty of it as well. We always think, well, they got nothing else to do. They find something else to do or something else to scale back that we never thought they would dream of. So first of all, you got to be a stopgap and a firewall, and then you have to be able to reach across the aisle and get things done. And I don't get to go in as a chief negotiator for the union and bang my, sometimes you do that, but bang my fist on the table and say, we want this or we're not talking to you.
Sure.
Doesn't work that way. We have to have creative compromise in
Right.
government as opposed to constant conflict. So that's what I want to bring to the State House. And when we say something like, what you're saying, I hear it all the time, anything's better than Walker, we won't win that way.
Yeah.
When we say we can have a Manila candidate or we can have a candidate that's kind of boring, but you know what, it's better than Walker? Well, you know who's not thinking it's better than Walker? People that voted for Walker last time.
Right.
And we need their vote this time. I mean, we can talk about the barriers and we can talk about the ills of democracy, but as a wise man once said, the cure to the ills of democracy is more democracy. So we can talk about that all day long, but we have to talk about solutions and how we're going to fix the problem. Because I mean, we always talk about, and people vote against their own self-interest. Well, what do we do to change that? People, they have more radio stations than we do. Yeah, and they're going to continue to. But what do we do to combat that? So, I mean, we're in the fight for our future. We have to get out there and hit it hard, man. We have to actually fight. And we have to bring, I always say we have two hands for a reason. One to bring ourselves to the poll and one to bring somebody else with us. We have to fight. And we cannot be discouraged. We cannot be despaired. We cannot be dismayed. We have to keep fighting. And there's no time to let up. There's no time to say, well, you know what, we lost in 2012. Well, so what? I lost in 2012. I'm here.
Well, then that's the question. I mean, with all the folks who are running, why? Why do you want to be governor?
Because we need a change. Firefight, there's an emergency in our state. We respond to emergencies. And I don't want to overplay the firefighter thing, but I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm not a career or skilled politician. I tell it like it is. But we have enough career or skilled politicians. I mean, we talk about Act 10. And we've talked a lot about Act 10. We've talked about right to work, some other things. I was there with you on the front lines. Some of these other candidates, I'm not saying they weren't there, but they weren't there. At least I don't remember seeing a lot of them. I see a lot of them now because there's a wave coming and people think now's the time to run. I'm not an opportunist. I ran in the recall where everyone said, well, you shouldn't run because we can't win a recall. Well, so what? It's the right thing to do. So why me? I say because we need a change. And a change is not the same thing we've thrown at Scott Walker the last 2 times or 3 times in the recall.